Okay, let's move on. 1 p.m. Eastern. Buffalo Bills 8-6, 4-3 on the road at New England Patriots 9-5, 3-4 at home. We're at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, we're gold. Okay. 39 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 9 miles per hour. Let's start with the market move here in this spot. We have the Patriots opening up as just 1.5 point favorites. Wow. What a difference a week makes in the NFL. Now 2.5 point favorites. My goodness, that just feels like that was a mistake. Clearly a bias from what happened last week. This total opened up at 44.5. It has dropped a point to 43.5, and it's going to be cold in New England. By the way, keep an eye on the weather because it's supposed to snow in the morning. And look, we're talking about 5 days in advance, so it's going to, and then it's supposed to stop snowing around 10 or 11 a.m. and not be snowing for 1. And we know that's going to change. So that is the market. Let's go over to the cash in this spot. We have 2,307 tickets in, 43% of the tickets on the bill, 61% of the cash. Then we have 19% of tickets on the under and 36% of cash on the under. And yet it's gone, and it's moved a point to the under. So it's making it more appealing for the public to bet the over. That screams under to me. Bills snapped their 2-game losing streak with a 31-14 win at home versus Carolina. Josh Allen, 19-34 for 210 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Gabriel Davis caught 5 passes for 85 yards, 2 touchdowns. Devin Singletary ran 22 times for 86 yards and a touchdown. He looked good for the first time, you could say. The defense swarmed Cam Newton. 4 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. A.J. Klein had a pick as well. The Bills were down 2 offensive line starters. So John Feliciano was placed on reserve COVID list hours before kickoff. Left tackle Dion Dawkins landed on the list Friday, was not cleared to play. Both remain on the COVID list. And who was added to it? Defensive end A.J. Epinesa was added to the COVID list, as was wide receiver Cole Beasley. And there's back and forth about whether Cole Beasley actually has it. Because Dan Kelly's saying Beasley says he's out because of the rules, not the virus. And if that's the case, that's just wild. Curtis Berry says he's on the Bills. So is Harold Williams. Dennis Trusty said, we sat here last week and said, why was Indy favorited? And they dominated the Pats. I think that this is a Bills revenge spot, and the AFC seems to beat each other. I will wait for line movement, but Bills. Tasha says, I can't see Pats losing back-to-back. Emmanuel Sanders was inactive last week. He's questionable this week. Patriots coming off a 27-17 loss to the Colts. It was their first loss to Indianapolis since 2009. Their NFL record streak of scoring in the first half, 99 consecutive games ended. They were down 20-0 entering the fourth quarter. Mac Jones, 26-45 for 299 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Hunter Henry caught 6 passes for 77 yards and 2 touchdowns. Birdie says this is a New England spot. Like I said the last time they played, New England have beaten the Bills for 2 decades, except last year with Newton and no fans. Pats for me here. I think this is a great buy low opportunity on the Patriots, but I'd like to hear Bebsy's breakdown. N'Keal Harry caught 2 passes for 52 yards. He left the game after taking a hit to the head. He's in concussion protocol. So is Nelson Aguilar. So you probably want one of those receivers in the lineup. Damian Harris is out due to a hamstring injury, and Ramondre Stevenson just, when he is the guy, when he's the RB1, I shouldn't say that. Again, I guess that's a bias from last game because he's done it before when Harris went out. So that's a mistake. That's clearly a bias. He ran 10 times for 36 yards. Harris is listed as questionable again this week. The defense couldn't put pressure on Wentz, couldn't stop Jonathan Taylor, went for 170 yards. Pats had just 1 sack. Dietrich Wise had it, and that was the lone quarterback hit. Devin McCourty did have a pick. Linebacker Jawan Bentley's dealing with an ankle injury, and he's questionable for this week. And they've been hit with COVID. Wide receiver Kendrick Bourne. Linebacker Harvey Lange. Cameron McGrone, linebacker Ronnie Perkins were all added to the COVID list. That's 3 linebackers. Cameron McGrone's a linebacker, right? I believe that's 3 linebackers and Kendrick Bourne that just been added to the COVID list. Wow. This is Dan Kelly said 100 times more dangerous to play in the NFL than to get COVID. 1,000. Says this not letting players play is ridiculous. The NFLPA should be suing. I agree. I agree with this. If it's this strain, I believe that last strain is still hanging around a few places, but this strain clearly seems not to bother people. But that's another story. Bebsy, take it away here. A huge, huge game in the AFC East. Bills Patriots, take it away.
Listen, I agree. I think this is a buy low spot for the New England Patriots. I think it feels like COVID's going to run through both of these teams. Which coach is going to be more prepared to play? without some players at his disposal, it's Bill Belichick. Which coach has dominated the other team for 20 some odd years now? That's New England. Which team is at home? It's New England. Listen, Buffalo is, I think, a better team top to bottom, and I think they're very well coached. McDermott, after the last game, throwing that, I talked about this on the show, that unnecessary dig at Bill Belichick, talking about how Belichick doesn't deserve that much praise for just say nothing. Don't. Why would you give Bill Belichick any reason to mark your name on his whiteboard and make sure you die the next time he sees you? I'm going with the Dark Lord here. I'm backing New England. Buffalo, just as good as they are, and I'm opposite Dennis Garcia on this. I do think Buffalo is a very good football team, but I think they fall to the New England Patriots. New England at home is just going to get it done this week. And just, what are you doing, McDermott? Why would you talk shit about Belichick? Just say nothing. All you had to do was nothing, and you fucked it up. I think that paints a target on the Bills. And I think he gets outcoached by Belichick hard. I think Belichick brings everything this week just to prove a point.
Look, I agree with the buy low spot on Patriots and all that, and that was my whole thought until I broke down all the injuries and all the issues that the Patriots have right now. I mean, that's a ton. I mean,
hey, who knows if Beasley just tested positive, that could rip through the Bills locker room too. So,
okay. Well, this is after reading all the. I need one of those receivers back. I need Aguilar and N'Keal Harry back. I need to know that Jawan Bentley is in. And are the Pats going to be down 3 linebackers? So I hear what you're saying, and I can give you the Patriots minus 2.5 at minus 104, a very low VIG. But I'm not going to be moving on this spot at this point. Do you want the Patriots minus 2.5 at minus 104?
Yes. I am going to move on the Pats now.
All right. We have Bebsy on the Pats minus 2.5, minus 104.
Just commenting on what Birdie said here. Could that have been more of a burn on himself? I think McDermott meant don't give BB credit because himself. Whether that's the case or not, the perception of the way New England takes it is what matters, and I guarantee that is something that's whiteboard material. That's something you put on the whiteboard and you say, this asshole said this about Bill Belichick. So it doesn't matter what he meant; it's how it's perceived.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. Birdie says the Bills cannot stop the run. They've lost every game to power running football teams. Bills cannot stop the run.
And they can't answer with a run game. That's why when they had that horrendous weather in Buffalo a couple weeks ago, I texted Pavi right before the game. I said, brutal weather, Bills can't run the ball, advantage Pats. And that's exactly how it played out. If it's cold and bad weather in New England, it's going to be more of the same shit. And again, New England losing last week, Buffalo winning. We're literally seeing a recency bias on both sides. It's a buy low spot for the Pats. It's a sell high spot for Buffalo here.
Rams just got a touchdown, by the way, now have a 17-10 lead.